Hi, I'm Drew D'Amelia, and today's movie is Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them is a movie from the mind of the Harry Potter girl. She made all the Harry Potter that you know and love, and now it's time to go back. Get out your time turners, you fucks. It's magic time. Back in the day. Fuck. I thought this movie was alright. It was a movie about magical people trying to find fantastic beasts in the non-magical world. So that's right. These characters didn't actually know where to find them, so a more appropriate title might have been Fantastic Beasts and fuck, where did they go again? Ah, shit. I thought that the magical parts of the movie were easily the best parts. Whenever magic was on screen, it always felt very inventive, very memorable, and I think it's easily the best takeaway from this experience. However, I think that a big detriment to the movie was that structurally, in terms of telling a story, it really felt all over the map, and never did the plot feel nearly as inventive as the magic that was featured in the plot. So, I don't know that the movie itself is ultimately going to be that memorable, at least to me. This is what the plot of the movie felt like to me. You had the first 20 minutes, and the characters were just kind of fucking off. And I felt that the beasts should have been unleashed way earlier in the movie, but they really weren't until about 20 minutes in. And it was such an obvious, stupid way in which the beasts were released. It was the classic, oh no, he got the wrong suitcase and opened it, and the beasts came out! They're all over the place! We gotta get those beasts back! I obviously didn't like that very much. I could see it coming, is the thing. So then they set off to find these beasts, but then you just kind of take time to meet some other characters, and I go, alright, but let's get back to the beasts. But then it just kind of turns into a zoo exhibit for 5 minutes, and I go, okay, we're going to the Zoo of Magic. And then it goes back to finding beasts, but then it goes back to the zoo, and then it goes to like, oh my gosh, you guys are murderers, and that's part of this big story that's going on, the super big story. And then they go, let's escape death, and they do, and then they don't really focus on the big story anymore, they just try to find more beasts, and then the big story just comes back. I'm like, fuck? What? It didn't work for me structurally. I feel like it would have benefited from having them just find beasts right away. It keeps escalating, and then somehow finding the beasts intertwines with this bigger story that's been happening underneath the surface the entire time. That, I feel, would have been a much more cohesive whole. It would have been a lot easier for me to get invested in it as an audience member. But what do I know? I'm not a Harry Potter fan! I mean, full disclosure, I read half the series 3 times, and literally got halfway through book 4, so that is my Harry Potter experience. If you want to know in my theater what the Harry Potter reaction was, I think I heard like 2 people trying to start a clap when the end credits rolled, either that or someone was very loudly masturbating. I just wish there was more monster catching. They really only caught, I'm gonna say 3 monsters. I think it was around 4, but 2 of them were sort of combined, and maybe they were off-screen monsters, but I don't know, I needed more monsters. The void is not filled. The editing also didn't help. I will admit that I was sitting kind of close to the screen, but I really did feel like shots were just going by too quickly, and I felt there was a lot of whirring. It really felt like the camera kept moving very quickly past objects that weren't in focus, and it just, I couldn't focus on the images that were in front of me. It was very bothersome, especially because you want to see what's happening. So I don't think the editing helped, especially, you know, in terms of the structure of the movie. In fact, in the beginning alone, there were 2 weird editing things. The movie kicks off with this newspaper montage, and it's going by so quickly that I can't even fucking read it. So I don't know what the hell is going on. I see shit about, like, fucking soccer or something. I don't know what soccer had to do with anything, or did I read it wrong? I guess I need to learn how to fucking speed read and get my words per minute fucking up. Also, the first real scene where you had the magical character in the real worlds, you had another magical character that you found out she was magical later, and she was kind of like looking at him, But then he had all these other shots of other characters that were also doing looking. So I thought, what the fuck is going on? Is this just some kind of heist or something? I seriously thought this guy was like entering a bank, and I thought that there was going to be this giant bank robbery or something. That's how confusing all the editing was with all these people. These just mostly insignificant characters, just shots of them staring. Like, what are you fucking looking? Is it me? Do I got some shit in my teeth? Well, I do appreciate the magic. I do feel like sometimes it was a little bit jarring. I liked the idea of just showing the magic and not explaining it. I feel like as a viewer I could mostly accept that, but sometimes it was just too much to take at once. You needed like a sentence maybe of explanation as to what was going on, and sometimes magic was used as a solution, and I'm usually okay with this, but magic kind of just resolved the ending. This is what I feel. If it had been introduced, whatever this magic was, at some point earlier in the movie, they hinted toward that magic existing, or that spell, what they used, that would have been fine for me, but the solution just kind of mostly came out of nowhere. There were vague hints toward it, but when those hints wound up connecting into the conglomeration they made, you weren't thinking, oh, of course. You were thinking, the fuck? And then the movie ended. I guess people might be asking, how does this stand up to the other Harry Potter movies? I don't think this movie is as good as them, mostly because of structure. I just feel that the Harry Potter movies, they had their stories down. And here's the thing. I think that this could have been a fine, simple story about a magical person trying to find beasts in a non-magical world. It wouldn't have been nearly as epic in scope as the other Harry Potter movies, but I wouldn't have necessarily thought that was a bad thing if that story was done well. But it really wasn't, and it pains me because there are other things that really separate this from the other Harry Potter movies. I feel that this movie had a lot of ideas that were much more bold than they were willing to go in the earlier Harry Potter movies, although again, you know, I'm not a mega fan here or anything. I mean, they had a very fascinating idea with humans suspecting that witches existed and almost having this like very intimidating cult trying to find these witches, and that's fucking fascinating, and they didn't do enough with that, I feel. It just kind of went to the wayside. I mean, it was always sort of present in the plot, but it just didn't have the focus that I wish it had had. And they had other themes, like, you know, there was a child that was literally implied to be getting beaten by his own belt by, you know, a very cruel mother figure. I just liked that they were going bolder with these ideas, but it just didn't amount to enough for me. I will say this. I thought that Eddie Redmayne did a fantastic job as the main character. I thought he had a lot of nuance in his performance, and I also liked the lead he was paired with. I guess you could call her a wizard cop. I thought they did great, and there were two other characters that were fine. I don't think that the characters were really developed that much, but it almost didn't matter. You didn't find yourself caring that much. There was a great scene toward the end of the movie with Eddie Redmayne and the wizard cop, and you barely knew these characters, really, but you could just tell they liked each other, and it worked, despite not having much of a backstory on either of them, because of the palpable charm between them. They just had this chemistry. So I felt that was a really surprising scene. I was surprised it worked without knowing that much about the characters, but it just goes to show you what charm can do for your characters. But then, on the opposite end of this spectrum, and I guess at this point, we're gonna go into spoiler territory, so click here if you want to avoid this shit. So there was this non-magical character that had joined the magical characters on their entire journey, and at the end of the movie, he had to have all his memories erased of this, because, you know, it was against the law for him to keep his memories of this magic. Now, we don't really know very much about this character, because characters weren't really developed that much in this movie, especially this character. He's Baker. So, why was there a scene at the end where for fucking 5 minutes it was all this emotional shit where he's going, oh man, I don't want to lose my memories of magic. Oh, it's okay. We're gonna miss you. We're so sorry. I'm so sad. I'm gonna make muffins and I won't remember magic anymore. Oh, it's okay. Don't be sad. I'm gonna give you a kiss. Mwah. I don't give a fuck about anything that's happening with this fucking Baker character right now. They're trying to make me invested in the fact he has to lose his memories. I don't give a shit about what he feels. I'm not invested enough in his character. I would give a shit about if he had chemistry with another character, I suppose, but I'm not emotionally invested in him. I barely know him. I could just say superficially, oh yeah, it looks like he gets along with that character, and it looks like he enjoys making bagels. But I'm not gonna be able to go, wow, I can tell that he's really feeling some crushing depression right now. Fuck you! Oh, that really annoyed me. I thought that was the worst part of the movie, honestly. Also, there was this really tragic character that just suddenly basically committed suicide, and that was just mostly glossed over. The characters didn't really mourn that appropriately, I felt. And I get it, it was the ending of the movie and they just kind of wanted to move on, but like, what the fuck? So, I don't know that you necessarily need to see this movie. It is refreshing to see magic, I will say that, because you don't necessarily get quality magic like this in other movies, but in terms of a story, I didn't feel that there was that much there. Then again, you did see Eddie Redmayne do like a sexy mating dance where he flaunted his ass so one of his creatures would fuck him in the butt. I'm not actually really joking about that. So, I mean, if you're into that, run to your local theater. But that's all from me. Now get the fuck out of my house.